Welcome, everyone. My name is Saul Molobi. I'm the convener of this conference, and I also serve as the CEO of Brandhill Africa, PTY Ltd. I'm deliberately saying this because we also have our CSI vehicle, which is called Brandhill Africa Foundation, PTY. Let me, before starting, express our sincerest apologies from the patron of this conference, Dr. Tami Mazwai, who happens to sit in the National Planning Commission, which is chaired by the president, and they were summoned to the union buildings this morning. And as a result, he's not able to join us. I've also received a number of apologies, even from our own staff, because of bereavement in their families. And the deputy chairperson of Brandhill Africa Foundation, Ms. Lebohang Kadimeng, who was supposed to be our MC today, has unfortunately been admitted in hospital. And yesterday we were hoping that she will be discharged, but unfortunately the doctors then indicated that she'll only be discharged this afternoon. So for that reason, I'm going to double up also as an MC, even though we have two other program directors who are based in West Africa, Fatou Chize and Angela Akua Ashante from Ghana. Fatou is from Senegal. And as you know, they're both in West Africa. So we are 2 hours ahead of them. So they will join us later on during the day. I'm just going to take you through the program for today. And thereafter, I will explain why we thought it was necessary for us to organize this conference. I hope all of you have seen all this poster and even all the faces that are reflected in this poster. I've already indicated Dr. Mazwai won't be with us. Dr. Pietres de Kock from Brand, South Africa won't be joining us also. And Mr. Joe Samuels from UNESCO will unfortunately not be able to join us. Mr. Happy Chibukua, the Executive Director of the Valfes Corridor Development, won't be able to join us, but he has nominated a South African representative to represent him. Yes, the first 10 minutes was about registration, and we gave those who are joining us later, just after 9 o'clock, to join us. We are now on the second item that I am presenting. We are going to have a keynote speech from Dr. Mohan Guruswamy. He is the Chief Knowledge Officer of the World Free Zones Organization. Then we'll break for we'll take 10 minutes just to to ask questions and also to get feedback from him. And then from there, we will have Mr. Mlungi Simpofu, who has also already introduced himself in the chat box, but I've also mentioned him. He's the Executive Director of the Trans-Kalahari Corridor Secretariat based in Namibia, even though they do have offices in Gaborone and South Africa, who will present on unlocking trade relations between the 3 countries. Then I will come in to present on deconstructing or constructing the African Renaissance. looking at NEPAD, the Africa Free Continental Trade Agreement and Agenda 2063 as case studies for brand re-engineering of the continent. Then we'll have a short tea break. Then after tea break, we'll have Mr. Eustace Mashimbe, the CEO, proudly South African. We'll have Tulile Kanyile, the co-founder and director of Nkatito Edu Propeller. My interest in this one is that last year, they trained over 17,000 high school students in ICT. And I thought the buzzword nowadays is fourth industrial revolution. So we need to be learning a bit from her. But also in my presentation, you'll also see why I emphasize the need for development of ICT platforms as our marketing collaterals. Then we will have the energy economists from CSIR. As you know, one of the 4 strategic objectives of the Africa Development Bank is Power Africa. The second one is Feed Africa. That's why we will have Ipile Nkwadi talking about agriculture and agro-processing. Then the next one is Industrialize Africa, where we look at manufacturing having to take place in Africa, because right now Africa is renowned for only exporting commodities and raw materials and then re-importing all those products and paying premium prices for them. We will then have questions and feedback, and we'll take a break. Then in the afternoon, we will have a young attorney and the Chief Operating Officer of iProperty Group, Mamello Tulare. Then I've already spoken about Mbahupu Chibukua, who will be represented by the South African representative of the Walvis Bay Corridor Group. Then we'll ask questions and get their input. In the afternoon, we will have Francois Fossier, who will look at economic opportunities post the COVID-19 pandemic. And then ITC happens to dominate the program. As I indicated, that 4IR is the future. We will have Namatirai Zinyohwera, who will give us his input on Africa being the last frontier for global growth. Then questions, and it will be over for today. Then let's look at why this conference. It is organized by Brandhill Africa, and Biashara is a Kiswahili name that means commerce or trade. And the reason why we decided to enter this space as a company is that we have the annual Brand Africa survey, which is conducted by Brand Africa and Brand Leadership Group. And the survey is validated by the African Leadership University. Last year, they found that out of the 100 most admired brands in Africa, only 20 were of African origin. That distressed me. Yes, the number of most admired brands out of the top 100 in Africa, which are homegrown, came down to 14%, meaning that Africans are not buying into the Made in Africa brands. And then we decided that we needed to come in so that we can brand position our products, so that one, we could increase uptake amongst Africans, because right now we are talking about consumers of 1.2 billion across the continent. And it will be the travesty of justice that this 1.2 billion consumers will be looking at consuming only brands that are manufactured outside of the continent. After brand positioning them, we also help to open global market access for them so that they could be able to export not only within Africa, but also abroad. The World Bank has informed us that intra-African trade is sitting at 14%, which means Africa, 86% of Africa's trade is with the other continents. And if you look at the rail and road infrastructure, you can clearly see that, in fact, commodities are extracted from Africa, and instead of the rail and road infrastructure connecting African countries so that all these commodities could be delivered and distributed within the continent. The rail and rail infrastructures take you directly to the harbor, which means that those commodities are then destined for other continents. We re-engineer the reputation of brands, and perhaps here I can also add that even those politicians whose brands are bettered, we also try to rebuild their reputations. And we brand position city regions, countries as viable destinations for tourism and trade. May I ask Yolanda to tell me after 20 minutes so that I can stop? I shouldn't abuse my position as the chair and the presenter at the same time. Our company's payoff line is research. Yes, we need to research, we need to innovate, because innovation has to be based on quality research. And from there, we re-engineer or we engineer brands. Our brand positioning is very simple. We are looking at Africa Rising narrative as eloquently communicated by The Economist. In fact, in 2019, the World Bank informed us that 6 of the 10 fastest growing economies in the world were located in Africa. We are against the back to our roots mentality, because we believe that Africa as a global citizen has a lot to contribute towards the socio-economic development of Africa. And as such, we don't subscribe to the idea of jungle of Africa, where you have Tarzan and wild animals roaming our streets. We are totally against that positioning of the continent. And that's why we are talking about 4IR. We showcase our sophisticated rail and road infrastructure. And we also show not only our ethnic hearts, but we also show the skyscrapers that Africa has. Our idea of an African lends itself from a definition given by Vipin Gupta, who said that, in fact, if you look at any other nation right now, we are now talking about a transvergent nation, in the sense that that nation has its own cultural heritage as its base, but over and above that, through its interaction with other global cultures, it has managed to synthesize into a new cultural identity. And that's what we are today. We have a strategic partnership with Proudly South African, with the African Agri-Council. I've already spoken about the ADB's strategic objective of feeding Africa, or ensuring that there's food security in the continent. African Agri-Council have members in the agriculture and agro-processing industry across the continent. We are also an associate member of the World Free Zones Organization, and that's why today we have the keynote speech coming from the Chief Knowledge Officer of the World Free Zones Organization. I wouldn't want to steal thunder from him, but basically free economic zones, or you are in industrial development zones, are the new economic development drivers of the global economy. And we do have most of those in South Africa. We have Kruger, we have Saldanha Bay in Gauteng, we have the Gauteng Industrial Development Zone. We have just launched the Tshwane Auto City. The Innovation Hub in Pretoria will soon be licensed as an independent special economic zone, and it will also manage Eka Industria in Bronkhorstspruit. This will be positioned as the high-tech and science parks of South Africa. We are a trade and investment promotion consultancy, and we look at all sectors of the economy. And we have signed business development services agreements with Africa Uncut Ltd and Isla Verde UK. These are our partners who are mobilizing foreign direct investments for all the projects that we are identifying in the continent. Our pipeline of projects has about 14 to 15 projects in South Africa, in Mozambique, in Liberia, in Gabon. These are multi-sectoral projects that are looking at specifically oil and gas and infrastructure development opportunities generally. So if you do have a project that requires funding, please do talk to us. We should be able to mobilize funding for that project.
After him since 6 months.
As a company, we have launched Jumbo Africa Online. Most of you are familiar with it. And Jumbo Africa basically promotes made in Africa and made by Africa service and product brands. We have the Biashara Services and Products Africa Conference and Exhibition. This is where we are today. And then we have a project called Silicon Villages, which is modeled on the Silicon Valley of the US. And we have signed a partnership agreement with Tucson Group, an accredited trading and development agency. And we are hoping to skill our people, not only in South Africa, but across the continent. In fact, it's very scandalous for us as South Africa that even when we were building the Medupi power station in Limpopo, we had to import welders from South Korea because our technical colleges are only producing welders who are trained to produce buckler doors and buckler gates. They are not producing welders who are able to do technical welding for electronics. And we hope through this, we should be able to redress this challenge that we are facing. As I indicated earlier on, and the most effective marketing platform, which is also cost effective, is through the ICT digital platforms. And this is what we are recommending to all our clients. I've deliberately included this slide to shock South Africans. If you look at internet usage statistics, South Africa ranks number 2468, number 9, after Kenya, Seychelles, Tunisia, Mali, Mauritius, Morocco, Senegal, and even Libya. And that is why the consumer campaign to lower data costs in South Africa is very, very crucial, because internet penetration is hindered by the high cost of connectivity in South Africa. Our recommendation for all countries going forward, particularly your trade and investment promotion agencies, is that you need to conduct a thorough customer research, segment your customers, design targeting and positioning statements that are appropriate to all these consumers. And that will help us will help African brands to gain popularity amongst our people. Right now, international relations is dominated by one section, which is economic diplomacy. That is why even our president set a target for himself over 5 years of raising 1.2 trillion rands worth of investments. And so far, he has already achieved 64% of this target. If you were following all the international investor conferences he has been hosting in the past 3 years. So it is very possible that in the next 2 years, he should be able to reach this target. In fact, all our diplomatic missions across the world are now prioritizing economic diplomacy. But you could also look at the US. President Donald Trump's foreign policy was also dominated by economic diplomacy, maybe because he is a business person, but I would say over 90% of all his tweets were all about economic diplomacy. We also need to conduct a comprehensive stakeholder engagement and look at the customer perceptions across the entire continent. We need to embrace new and social media platforms as part of our digital communication strategy and tactics. We need to administer a dynamic customer relationship management and platforms. This will allow us to be able to compete very successfully with all the international brands. I've asked Yolanda to admit, and she's not admitting, so time and again, I have to admit people. So since July this year, we have supported a number of homegrown African countries, African companies. Made by Coco is a cosmetic company owned by a young South African. And we have supported them, and they've been doing excellently well, more especially in the light of the economic lockdowns arising from COVID-19. She was able to make inroads. And then there's a Black-owned wine brand called Peli Wines from Pelindaba in Atteridgeville in Johannesburg. We have supported them. In fact, she's one of my subjects because in part of my academic research is to look at perceptions of global consumers that they have on South African wines and how brand Africa impacts on the consumer decision making. And another one that I'm trying to help now is Moringa Gin, which is produced by a well-known comedian, Mashabela Khalani. And the brand is already doing well in the SADC region. And the aim is for us to get them to expand their market into the rest of the African continent. So those of us from other African countries who are interested to become distributors for Made by Coco, Peli Wines, Moringa Gin, and even the next one could please do reach out to us and we will be able to introduce you to the brand owners. Brown Sense, which is well known on Facebook, has just launched Brown Sense Africa. And those of us who read our November edition will remember that we covered them extensively. They've just launched a Brown Sense Africa e-commerce platform where Africans will be able to order the products they're interested in from them directly using the Brown Sense Africa platform. So do visit them on Facebook and follow them, and you should be able to identify many made by Africa products. And the good thing about their platform is that all their products are vetted, and also the capacity to deliver of a producer or manufacturer is also vetted. So if you were to order through this platform, you should be comfortable that you will be able to get what you have ordered. The same thing applies to Proudly South African, of which we are a member, which has vetted a number of companies who are based in South Africa, and they are producing excellent products which are of the highest quality imaginable. The last one, in Setswana, we say moja morago ke kgosi, meaning in English, loosely they say, one who laughs last loves the better. I love this brand. Mureza is the first made by Africa commercial automotive product. They've just launched that car. The company is headed by Tatenda Mugofa, a young Zimbabwean-born fellow who is now based in South Africa. I think he's also has connected, and you could be able to talk to him through the chat box. They will be manufacturing in South Africa, and Zimbabwe has also offered them a manufacturing plant, and Botswana has also offered them the plant that used to be owned by Hyundai in Gaborone will now be taken over by this company. It's young, but it's one of those companies that we say they were born global. These are my contact details, and thank you very much for listening to me. And I hope I haven't taken much of your time. Thank you so much.
Russell, your time was actually just in time.
Okay, thank you. Let me see if our keynote speaker hasn't joined us yet. Okay, he will be joining us in, he has already joined us. Good morning, Dr. Guruswamy.
Good morning. Such a pleasure to be here. I thoroughly enjoyed your excellent introductory speech. Very well done.
Thank you so much, Doug. Nowadays, we say that you don't need to be introduced to anyone because we have a very generous uncle called Google that before you meet anybody, you just ask Uncle Google to tell you who they are. But just in short, ladies and gentlemen, this is an accomplished scholar, an academic, a business leader, a thought leader, and also the chief knowledge officer of the World Free Zones organizations. And I'm now going to hand over to him, and he will give us the keynote speech. You are welcome.